Oh. We are small in number this Shabbat. Eh?
Raging heart.
Yes. You know me. So,
Continuation from last week?
exactly, Brian. Continuation from last week. Two main topics that we addressed last week. First, the Torah is a manuscript, is a text, and when you read it, when you study it, you have to take into account that this text, this manuscript, was written at a specific time and at a specific people in history. So when we read the text, we have to take into account the context of this people, the culture, the mentality, the traditions, in order to fully understand what this text is trying to teach us, what this text is trying to say to us. If not, we said that what is going to happen and what did happen throughout history is that because we haven't considered the context of the text, we have imposed on the text our own values, our own perceptions, our own cultures, and we come up with strange ideas that the text, in this case the Torah, does not say. That was the first idea we spoke about. The second idea we spoke about was the idea of that God gave all that we needed to know on Mount Sinai. Everything that we need to know about what God expects from us was given on Mount Sinai. When we study his instructions, we can know what God expects from us. This means that my relationship with God does not depend on my specific beliefs. My relationship with God depends on my faithfulness and my obedience to his instructions, to his teachings. We've said that if you believe, for example, in a coming kingdom, an eternal coming kingdom, and you believe that, you are allowed to believe that. But God is not going to address that issue with you. What God is going to address is, what have you done with what he has given you in this life? He is going to put an emphasis on our actions, not on our mystical ideas. That was the second idea we developed. And so today we are going to develop the idea of progressive revelation. And progressive revelation is a system that was developed within the context of a religious setting. Judaism has it, rabbinical Judaism, Christianity has it, Islam has it. What is progressive revelation? The idea of progressive revelation is that it teaches that God has given us certain information in stages. So, for example, this system, of course, which I believe is a very toxic system, says that when you read the account of the Garden of Eden, God gave a certain amount of revelation at that moment. When you read the accounts regarding Noah and the flood, God gave an extra amount of information, and so on and so forth. When we come to King David, for example, God gives more information. The prophets come and God gives more information. And God is adding more information throughout different stages in history. That is what this system is teaching. The other element of this system is that the more God gives information, the previous information that He gave, the previous revelation that He gave, becomes inferior. So, for example, in the case of Christianity, Torah, which was the first revelation that God gave, is inferior to supposedly the revelation that God gave in the New Testament. If you're a Christian, that is what you're supposed to believe. Islam, for example. Islam teaches that God gave His first revelation to the Jewish people. Then Allah came and gave a superior revelation than Judaism, which was Christianity. And lastly came the Quran, and God gave His ultimate revelation, which, of course, makes Christianity and Judaism inferior and even obsolete, because God has given everything in the Quran. We believe, according to Torah, that God gave everything we needed to know on Mount Sinai. And when we play with these religious systems, these systems of interpretation, we come to erroneous conclusions. And we start inventing ideas and creating new systems of beliefs. And this, when we do this, we depart from the message that God gave us on Mount Sinai, which was very clear, very practical. And we lose ourselves in so many ideas. Now, not that these ideas are wrong to believe in. For example, in Judaism and in Christianity, they teach about the resurrection of the dead. It's a teaching in Judaism and in Christianity. But the teachings are different in Judaism and Christianity. In Judaism, resurrection is it's a carnal experience. You're going to come back physically. In Christianity, you are not going to come back physically. You are going to come back in a supernatural body, okay? A celestial body. So, same ideas. Resurrection in Judaism, resurrection in Christianity, but not with the same emphasis. So if you decide to believe in those elements, it's okay. But we have to be careful in not calling that Torah. That's the distinction we have to make. We have to make the distinction in what God gave us on Mount Sinai and His instructions, and our extra beliefs. I have my own personal beliefs, and I know that some of you have your own personal beliefs. And we can talk about them and exchange ideas, but we have to make it clear that it is not Torah. Can you open your Bibles and Deuteronomy chapter 4? I want to show you something. Deuteronomy chapter 4. I want to read certain verses in this chapter because it's very interesting what it says. Verse 1. Now Israel, listen to the Chukim and Mishpatim, the instructions I am teaching you, in order to follow them, so that you will live. Then you will go in and take possession of the land that Adonai, the God of your father, is giving you, in order to obey the mitzvot of Adonai your God, which I am giving you. Do not add to what I am saying. Do not add to what I am saying. And do not subtract from it. You saw with your own eyes what Adonai did on Baal Peor, that Adonai destroyed from among you all the men who followed Baal Peor. But you who stuck with Adonai your God are still alive today, every one of you. Look, I have taught you Torot, it's Chukim and Mishpatim, instructions, just as Adonai, my God, ordered me, so that you can behave accordingly in the land where you are going, in order to take possession of it. Therefore, observe them and follow them, for then all people will see that you have wisdom and understanding. When they hear of all of these chukim, they will say, this great nation is surely a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God as close to them as Adonai our God is? Whenever we call on him, what great nation is there that has chukim and mishpatim, as just as this entire Torah which I am setting before you today? Only be careful and watch yourself diligently as long as you live, so that you won't forget what you saw with your own eyes, so that these things won't vanish from your heart. Rather, make them known to your children and grandchildren. The day you stood before Adonai your God at Orev, when Adonai said to me, gather the people to me, and I will make them hear my very words, that they will learn to hold me in awe as long as they live on earth, so that they will teach their children. So we have a responsibility to teach the next generations the instruction that God gave on Mount Sinai. You approached and stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain blazed with fire to the heart of heaven, with darkness and clouds and thick mist. Then Adonai spoke to you out of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no shape. There was only a voice. He proclaimed his covenant to you, which he ordered you to obey. The 10 words. The 10 words. And he wrote them on 2 stone tablets. At that time, Adonai ordered me to teach you the Chukim and Mishpatim, so that you would live by them in the land you are entering, in order to take possession of them. So why did I read all of this? Because if I follow what the Torah is telling us, is that we can know what God expects from us by what he gave us on Mount Sinai. So I don't have to break my head with so many absurd ideas. I know that many of you go on YouTube and you listen to preachers and rabbis. And not because they are preachers and rabbis, whatever they're teaching is right. Most of the things they are teaching is nonsense, is complete nonsense. And I respect them, but I have to be honest. Because they work within a religious system, they have deviated from the clear instructions that God gave. God did not call us to break our heads and complicate things. We did that. We complicated God's words, God's instructions. We made following God so difficult, with so many traditions, so many beliefs, so many ideas, that for most people it is almost impossible to follow God. But when you take the time to read what God is expecting from you, he made it clear. He made it clear that what he's looking from, what he's wanting from us are actions, not beliefs or words. Actions. Let's make a difference. Let's study God's instructions. And that, when you are faithful to His instructions, to His teachings, that is when you can say, I have a relationship with God. Shabbat Shalom.